Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 410 of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, the podcast where we help you take your content to the next level. And we sit down with content creators, specifically YouTube creators, and we chat with them about their journey on the platform, the failures they've had along the way, how they've grown their channel to the state that it's in now, the mistakes that they made early on that they've learned from and are now implementing different strategies, how they're making money, and everything in between. I've been doing this now for almost a decade, and it never gets old. I can sit down with a creator today and learn something new, although I've already recorded over 400 of these interviews, and I'm so thankful that I get to continue to do this. And it's all because of people like you who listen to the show and our primary sponsor, TubeBuddy. If you don't know who or what TubeBuddy is, I encourage you, use our link. You'll get a free 30-day trial. You'll hear about it here in today's interview. The guest talking about how beneficial it's been for him and how he wished he would have used it sooner. So definitely check them out if you haven't already. Also, have a couple of ways you can get in touch with us. We have one of the largest YouTube creator communities over on our Discord server. You support us for $5 over on Patreon. You get access to that server where you can rub elbows with other creators, as well as the monthly mastermind call. We just did one here at the end of July, a couple of days ago, where we talked all about AI, artificial intelligence, and the different ways that we're using it as creators. I host those on Zoom each and every month, and for as little as $5, you get access to all of that. And then lastly, if you want to take it to the next level, I do have a coaching service where you can find the links in every one of these podcast episodes, and you can hire me for 30 minutes to an hour, and we can sit down and talk about your channel. I can analyze it. I can do a deep dive into the things that you want to talk about and help you like I've helped hundreds of other creators throughout the years. So with all of that said, I just again want to give you a warm digital embrace and say thank you. It's because of people like you that I'm able to continue to interview and sit down with wonderful creators like Tyler that you're going to hear from today. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump into this week's conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation on the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by Tyler Cauble. Tyler is one of the anomalies on YouTube. He's doing so many things well, and yet he's learned a lot along his journey. If you go to his YouTube channel, it's Tyler and then Cauble, C-A-U-B-L-E. I'll link it in the show notes as always. Tyler is a real estate agent slash investor slash just person who is in the industry telling people all about real estate. But he also has a very successful YouTube channel, which pushes the majority of his clientele. So with his YouTube channel, he now is almost at 60,000 subscribers, just over 500 videos, and he's one of the main authorities in the space, specifically in the Nashville space. And for those of you who are local to the U.S. know that the Nashville real estate market is killer. It's not only high in price, but it's also high in luxury and many other things, and Tyler is right in the middle of it. So today we're going to talk about his journey. Tyler, how are you doing today?
Dusty, I'm doing great, man. Really excited to be here. I've been listening to the show for, I guess, 4 years now since I started the channel, so honored to be here. You
told me on our coaching call that you actually we're listening to the podcast from the beginning of your journey. And so now I love talking to people like you because it's proof of concept of the podcast. So it's a win for both of us. So, all right, the Tyler Cauble YouTube channel. Tell us kind of the origin story. If I sort your videos from oldest to newest, 4 years ago is when you got going. So tell us how the whole thing started. What were you thinking? And then just give us the whole kind of story of the channel.
Yeah, so if you go back 4 years, it's April of 2020, right? A very interesting time for all of us. But really, the YouTube channel goes further back than that. You know, when I first got into commercial real estate back in 2013, one thing that I found was that there was not a lot of education out there available in the market. You know, there were only a couple of podcasts at the time. There were definitely no YouTube videos and a few books on Amazon. And so other than learning on the job and learning from people that were willing to take the time to sit down and talk me through certain concepts, it was very difficult to know how to navigate the commercial real estate world. And so I always told myself, you know what, once I know enough about commercial real estate, I'm going to teach other people how to do this. Well, as fate would have it, I ended up getting pretty good at commercial real estate, and therefore I was too busy. I mean, I was spending 99% of my time out of office. There's just no way that I would have the time to sit down and figure out how to put together a YouTube channel. until April of 2020, right? So everybody gets shut down in March of 2020. And I'm sitting there making phone calls to investors, trying to get them to buy buildings in Nashville. And I kept getting the same thing over and over again. Hey, we love Nashville. We'd love to work with you. Call us in 6 months. We don't know what's going on in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I started spending 12 hours a day watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts and trying to figure out how to do this. And that's obviously when I found your show. And that was how we started the YouTube channel. I actually ended up taking blog posts that I had written and used those as scripts for my first videos. Because that was the thing that was the most uncomfortable for me was how do I actually show up on camera and not be too nervous so that I actually deliver the points that I want to make.
Which is surprising to me now because I watch a lot of your recent stuff and you do speaking engagements and you're so confident and comfortable on stage. And it's cool to see how YouTube has helped you really iron out the kinks in your game and make you a better communicator, obviously from camera. But once you do these live speaking engagements, I've done a few of them and it does carry over. So it's fun to see where you came from to where you are now. So early on, 4 years ago, when you were doing the research and you were dedicating these hours every single day to trying to make sure when you launched and started the channel that it was successful, what were some of the first things that you made mistakes on? Like the things that you look back at now and you're like, man, the Tyler of today would never do that, but maybe help the audience listening to eliminate or not go through those stages.
Oh man, where do we even get started? I mean, here's the thing, and I know you've said this so many times, and it was something that really resonated with me. It was just get started. It doesn't matter. You don't need the fancy camera equipment. You don't need the lighting. You don't need a studio. Just start wherever you are. And that's exactly what I did. And I look back on those videos now and I'm like, oh my gosh, we would never do that. But like my second video, which is one of my most popular videos ever, I mean, it's got hundreds of thousands of views now, was recorded on an Android phone with a little lapel mic that I plugged into the phone. And, you know, it's terrible. I mean, obviously the content's great, but man, the video quality, the audio quality, it's just not there. The graphics in my thumbnails starting out were a little rough. The one thing that I was always good at was promoting the videos. I had started on Instagram before, so I had a decent following there, and that helped. But yeah, I mean, going through and really just honing in the type of quality that I wanted to have, that was how I decided to differentiate myself. So, you know, this was a business decision for me day one. So I used my business. I looked at our marketing budget and I said, all right, I'm going to put 100% of our marketing budget into YouTube. And so I hired a videographer day one who shot all of my videos. He edited all of my videos. He did all of our graphics. That way I could focus on the business and affording to pay for him.
So I want to ask, you mentioned that you were pretty good, or if not really good, at the sharing of the content because you were already in real estate, you were already in marketing, so you knew the space very well outside of the video game. So with that being the case, what are some things or some advice that you can give our listeners about how can you get your content out there to the right people? You know, what are some tactics that you have in play even to this day?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to be considered an authority in your industry on YouTube, you got to be an authority on your industry in real life, right? And what I've found now is that a lot of the people that just surround me in commercial real estate in Nashville, a lot of them watch my videos. And that's because I'm going out there, I'm meeting them in person. I mean, it's blocking and tackling. And I know that sounds so crazy, but just meeting people and being like, oh, I'm a YouTuber now. You know, I do videos on commercial real estate. Well, when I was networking, a lot of these people, they are interested in commercial real estate, but they have no idea how to transition from the residential real estate investing world into commercial because there just wasn't a lot of information out there on it. So that helps. I mean, I had been focused on marketing on Instagram for the longest time. We actually got a lot of our investors and clients off of Instagram. And so for me, it was Instagram stories. Hey, here's a countdown. Like I just posted one today on a video that's going live at 5:30. I always do premieres on my videos because then I can share that to my Instagram, have a little countdown button where people can go and select it and say, you know, tell me when the video premieres. And then, you know, that goes out to my audience of, 21,000 followers, give or take, on Instagram. And so that starts the video getting likes before it goes live. It'll start getting some comments sometimes before it goes live. So it's really interesting just seeing how the audience will interact with that. And then one thing that I try to be conscientious of too when these videos premiere is jump in the comments and jump in the live comments, right? Because that will actually get your audience to come back for the premiere every time because they know that you're going to be there to answer any questions, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, look, the newsletter, right? I'm not as consistent with that as I should be, as we discussed in our coaching call, which was awesome, by the way. I mean, I can't tell you thank you enough for what we covered there. But the newsletter is amazing. I mean, that's, the YouTube video of the week is the headliner of every single newsletter that we send out. And I usually do like a mini blog post on what I cover in that. And it ends up getting a lot of clicks.
Couple of questions from what you just said. I'm going to break them down into two kind of sub questions. First being this, you talked about premieres. This is something I don't talk about very much here because my content doesn't really align itself with doing premieres because I'm doing just tutorials on a random bit of software. But for you, it's perfect for what you're doing. So people listening to this may wonder, number one, what is a premiere? But number two, you mentioned a few of the benefits about getting that pregame as far as giving that video already pushing it down the hill. If you're looking for an analogy, you're already getting it going. And so with the premiere, what have you found to be the biggest benefits? And can you explain, you mentioned you're putting a countdown on Instagram. Can you get even more technical with that for me, Tyler? Like, how are you doing that? Because people listening to this may be saying, well, I want to do that, but how do I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's pick apart premieres first. I don't have the data to say why a premiere probably is or is not necessarily better than just posting a video. But I like to set it as a premiere, which when you're going to schedule your YouTube video, instead of just clicking publish, there is a, set as premiere or set as instant premiere. So I just set it as a premiere for whatever time that day is best for my audience. Typically, I look at the analytics, and 5:30 p.m. on Thursdays, 5 o'clock p.m. on Mondays. For whatever reason, those 2 days are very good for me. So I'll schedule it then, and then I can send it out to everybody. And it just gives them a heads up of, hey, go to YouTube at this time. I'll have a new video for you to watch, right? So it just creates that like FOMO, right? People want to be there. They want to see it first. And it's really cool to see how the audience will interact with that. I mean, it's not a lot of likes, but I'll have videos that get 8, 10, 20 likes before it even goes live just based on the topic. And so I actually use that as a way to say, okay, this is something that people are clearly so interested in that before the video goes live, they're hitting the like button. That's interesting. Let's see how we can do some more of that. But as far as sharing it on Instagram and doing a countdown, if you go into your stories, and I'll just share like a screenshot of the thumbnail and, the title and the premiere and all of that kind of stuff, up in the top right-hand corner, you can go to where you can do like the links or the stickers, stuff like that. There's actually a countdown button up there. And, you set the title of the countdown, you set the time for when the event is happening. And it doesn't necessarily link to the video. I'll still put a link into the Instagram story. But what that does is people can then click on that countdown and say, remind me. So as soon as that happens, they get a notification on Instagram, hey, the countdown is done. Go watch the video. And they'll jump over and check it out.
I love that. It's such a neat and unique way of doing things. And I've never thought about getting the likes ahead of time and getting some of the excitement. I think that's what the premiere does, right? It's just like a movie premiere, right? Using that analogy, it builds up the hype for the video. And the people that are going to be coming there for a premiere are your most avid, the people who are your biggest fans are the ones that are there. So these are the people that you want. They're going to be your biggest fans. They're going to be in the comment section. They're going to be liking the video. And so I love that. And I love going outside of platform on Instagram and finding a way to link those two together. So that's great. I love that. All right. So the next bit of conversation I want to have with you is first about the kind of production, the side of things for you. I know it's changed over time. Obviously, you were hiring people out from the beginning just because of the nature of your business. But let's talk about start to finish. From ideation of, okay, I have an idea, and like your most recent video today premieres in a few hours, how to structure creative commercial real estate deals, even if you're broke. So you have this thing, you have an idea, all the way from starting of the video to post-production. Give us the full thing, your full workflow. How does this look?
Yeah, so we've got several different types of videos that we'll do. So like that one, fully scripted, right? So my girlfriend actually works on the scripts with me because she's a great writer. And then once the script is done, I'll typically, before that, I'll provide an outline of like, hey, this is the direction that I would like to go with this. Then she'll write the script out. Then my videographer and I will review it. And he'll go through and he'll say, okay, we need to shoot this B-roll here, this B-roll here, this B-roll here. We'll do talking, head A-roll in the studio at this point. We're going to go on site at this point and do some talking head there too, just depending on the context of the video. So the one going out today, like I said, that is fully scripted. I also have another series called Story of the Deal, where we're like walking commercial real estate investments with the investor or the developer. And I just interview them throughout the process and we take a tour of their property. It's like MTV Cribs, but for commercial real estate, right? So that's completely unscripted. I just have a general idea of where we want to go with that. But really for ideation, I just go and look at residential real estate. I have found a parallel niche is what you could call it, right? Where residential real estate and commercial real estate are not actually really competing with each other, but people in residential real estate are infinitely better at marketing than anybody in commercial. So I just look at the types of videos that they're doing and I say, oh, okay, well, how to buy, a house with no money down. Cool. Let's do a video on how to buy a commercial property with no money down. And so, I'm not that creative when it comes to coming up with the titles or the thumbnails. I just look at what the people that are doing it in an amazing way, and let's not reinvent the wheel.
So talk about titles and thumbnails. How do you do them? I mean, you talked about you're not very creative. We talked about this a little bit on our call. Your thumbnails are killer now. So I obviously already know the answer to this, but I want you to tell my audience, what is your process on the branding and structuring just of the whole package, right? The thumbnail, the title, description. How are you doing all these things?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically we have the overarching theme for the video, right? Which, the one that's going live today, creative financing and commercial real estate. Like that was the working title, right? That's not a fun, sexy title. Nobody's going to click on that. They might, but it's not nearly as exciting or compelling. And so, that's the working title until I watch the full video. And then I will go in and think, okay, what is the most interesting thing that I said here? How did we edit it? What's the story that we actually ended up telling? And I'll work on the title based on that. And then we'll build the thumbnail off of that as well. So the thumbnail, we try and make that really relate to the first 10 to 15 seconds of the video so that, like you said, when people click through, they are, seeing what they've been sold as true. But the title is the interesting one because, what I have found, if you go to my most popular videos, time and time again, it's the SEO heavy titles that have done really well for me. I'll have the ones that are a little more, I guess, clickbaity, but they deliver on the clickbait. Those will take off every now and then. I've got one that's got like over 300,000 views. It was just $30K a month from a parking lot, ? And that's great. But, how to buy commercial real estate for beginners. People are going into YouTube, which is the second largest search engine in the world, and typing in how to buy commercial real estate for beginners. And my video happens to be there.
Hey guys, a quick pause in the interview this week to talk about my new weekly newsletter called the Entrepreneur's Minute. My plan for the newsletter is to only send out one email every week with a recap of what's going on in my business, maybe do an income report letting you know how much money I've made that week or that specific month, an update on my YouTube channel, and just a behind-the-scenes look of what it takes to be a creator, the books that I'm reading, the products I'm discovering, new AI tools and resources. So if you're just looking for a way to better connect with me, Dusty, and see what I got going on, and the different things that I want to write about each week, maybe it's my family, maybe it's my business, it's absolutely free. It's called the Entrepreneur's Minute, and I would really appreciate it. All right, now back to the show. And a lot of that search, and I find this true on my channel, when you go to your data and analytics, I don't know if you get this on your search type videos, but I'm getting a lot of traffic from external, right? So I'm getting a lot of traffic from Google or Yahoo or Bing or all the big players in search results. And, as AI continues to grow and develop, I think we will probably see a new category there, which is however they want to do it. I'm sure ChatGPT's released something recently called Search GPT, and I'd love to see them embed YouTube videos, and I really am crossing my fingers that they're going to do something like that. So finding where your traffic's coming from and understanding it is very important, and looking at your videos from most popular, you can see that you do have those search type as well as the kind of viral type videos like the one where you did $30K a month from a parking lot. So that's just a great title, right? People are just like, I want to know, how is he making $30K from a month from a parking lot, right? So that's really interesting. So to piggyback off what we were just talking about, I want to kind of transition into the monetization. So you obviously had a business purpose and reason for doing this. If there are business people, not necessarily real estate agents, but I do have a lot of real estate people listen to the show, but a business person, a dentist, a doctor, a vet. I'm not sure why I went all medical there, but you get the point, right? a business person listening to this. The main purpose of every one of your videos is to act as a business card. It's to act as a direct traffic source for you and your course, or not necessarily courses, but you and your eventual kind of mastermind, which you're going to talk about here in a second. If someone's listening to this, what are the critical things about building yourself up as an authority? So for me and you in our relationship, it started by you 4 years ago picking up your phone, looking for a YouTube-centric podcast, finding me, listening to me for hours on end, built that relationship with me through the podcast. You then reached out to me to help coach you, and now we're here, and you're on the podcast. So I built myself up as the authority. How have you done that so well? Because I think that's where you have excelled at so well on your YouTube channel. Talk about that and that whole process and what people can do to become the authority in their space.
Well, there's something I want to really pull out of what you just said, too, that I think people need to keep in mind. I've been listening to your podcast religiously for 4 years, right? And we just recently started working together.
Yep.
When you are getting into YouTube and podcasting, it is a long-term game. You know, I get people that ask me all the time, like, hey, if I'm starting a YouTube channel, what should I do? One of the first pieces of advice I say is don't look at the analytics for the first year. Just make a video every week and get better at making videos, and then take it from there, right? Then start to tweak it, because you really got to nail that piece of it first. So, I mean, I know that I went off on a little tangent of what you were asking there, but will you restate the question?
Yeah, so you've become the authority in commercial real estate, not necessarily just in Nashville, but all over. And so people want to replicate that. I think in a minute when people hear how much money you're making, their eyes are going to bulge out of their head, because they're going to be thinking like, how is this possible? But it's very easy. Like it's tried and true. It's happened for ages, right? Understanding how to market yourself and present yourself as a figure who knows what they're talking about. You're solving problems for people, and then you're going to have people willing to throw money at you at very large sums of money. So how do you think people can build themselves as the authority in their niche, in their space?
Yeah, so that's a great question. When I first got started, I genuinely just wanted to teach about commercial real estate. I did not think about monetization.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, when they first start their channel, who can I get to sponsor me? I didn't want to deal with any of that, right, at all. And now I have sponsors reaching out to me, and I won't even do sponsor deals, because I'm making so much more off of my own products and what I'm doing that it doesn't make sense. So for the first few, really year, I didn't think about it at all. But this was just something I had naturally done since I was storytelling. I would say, my brokerage team, or I helped a client do this, and we did that, and here's a success story that we had. And I had a, contact me on Instagram or send my team an email, in the description. People started reaching out and saying, hey, I want to work with you to buy commercial properties. Will you represent us in Texas? I was like, yeah, absolutely. We can do that. And, I thought that was really interesting. I was like, wait, that's crazy. I mean, we're a small little boutique East Nashville brokerage. Now we're working across the country. I mean, we do probably more deals across the country now than we do in Nashville, which is wild. So that was how I realized, like, oh, there's a way to monetize this that is totally outside of YouTube, because I'm sure we'll talk about YouTube monetization. It is nothing. And it's hilarious, but it's, it doesn't hurt to have. So then I started looking more and more into it, and I kept getting comments. I've just listened to the audience. I kept getting comments of, Tyler, I've watched every single one of your videos, and I still don't understand, how to do my first deal. Can you do a course? Can you put a course together? Can you do live trainings? Can you do, this, that, and the other? And at first I was like, I don't have time to do a course. That's not really what I want to do with my life. And then the comments kept coming in, like consistently on almost every video I was doing. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And we put a course together, and that took off like hotcakes, right? That was really cool to see. And then that eventually became, hey, Tyler, I have all the knowledge and tools. I want the support. I want the community. I want you to coach me. I want you to handhold me through this deal. And so, I started taking on one coaching clients. Again, not really the direction that I wanted to go. It was taking up a lot of time. I was charging $25,000 a year per coaching client. And, I would take on up to 8 or 10 at a time. And it's great. It's a lot of money, but it's a lot of my time. And again, I'm a real estate broker and investor. Like, I've got my own company, so I didn't really want to focus on that. And that's what led us to the mastermind, right? So it's group coaching. I'm teaching to a lot of people at one time. You get the community of them and that brain trust as well. And that has been by far the best thing that we do. I only advertise it through the YouTube channel. I typically, like on my podcast, like my live streams, there's a 30-second ad on the front, 30-second ad for it on the back. That's it. Mm-hmm. And we are now doing about $50,000 to $60,000 a month in sales for that program.
Yeah. And it's all coming from the YouTube channel, right? I mean, sure, you might have some stuff on Instagram, but the main driver for this is via the mastermind, right?
That's
I mean
YouTube
it's all, to the mastermind, yes.
Yeah. It's all YouTube and the podcast.
Yeah.
Which the podcast is just, my YouTube live streams.
Right. And you're pulling the live stream, repurposing it as an audio podcast. And I've told you before that one of the things that we talked about on our coaching call was that you're really leaving a lot to be desired for your live streams. Yep. And I think that the number that you just said can go up dramatically by really improving the post-live optimization of those live streams and being able to repurpose them as videos and shorts. And you're definitely going to be doing that going forward. And so I'm looking forward to see how that moves the needle. So that's the main monetization bucket. But are there others? Are there other smaller buckets? Obviously, you're still doing real estate. You have the YouTube ad revenue. And the YouTube ad revenue, as we mentioned, is peanuts compared to a lot of the other stuff. But it also depends on the niche that you're in. I know people in finance on YouTube making $30,000 a month on YouTube ad revenue. So I don't want people to think that there's no money there to be made. Right. I make on YouTube ads on my YouTube channel what a lot of people make on their full-time job, right? So it just depends. It really just depends on where you are, the space that you're in. So talk about, I loved using the term buckets. I'm sure you've heard me use it on the podcast. What are your monetization buckets? You have the one at the top, which is the mastermind. And I would like for you to break that down, by the way, of what is the mastermind? How much are you charging? What's the duration they get? And then talk about your other buckets as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the mastermind, it's $7,000. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access. So we don't do like monthly subscriptions or an annual renewal. Once you're in, and people love that model, right? I love that model. If you're considering doing a group program like this, highly recommend that model because it's everything after the first year is just bonus time for them, right? And I mean, students love it. They'll start to bring their friends. So that's really it. So I mean, we're only selling two to three of those a week, right? It's not a lot, but the way that it's structured, it works really well for us. That would be followed by probably the commercial real estate brokerage, which we'll typically do anywhere from 10 to 20K a month off of, just somebody calling us and saying, hey, I want to buy this property, or, hey, will you sell this deal for me? Or, will you help us find tenants? So, that's always nice as well. What I do really for a living, like what my actual job is, I raise capital to buy commercial real estate assets, right? And so my investor list has gone from 400 or 500 people when I first started YouTube back in 2020 to over 2,100 now, which is really cool to see, just from people that get to follow my journey, follow how we do deals. And then they're saying, yeah, actually, I want to give this guy $50,000 or $100,000 on his next project and go in and do another boutique hotel or do, another food hall, something like that, which is pretty cool.
And you get to go, and sorry to interrupt you, and you are actually investing with them, right? Like they're helping you by helping you fund it, right? So they're basically, so you don't have to go to the bank to get a loan. You have these people investing with you, and you're able to not worry about high interest rates and things like that because you already have the capital.
Well, so I am still doing a loan because it makes sure if we have debt on the table, that it ensures that my investors' returns will be even higher.
Right.
But I'm the only one that signs on that debt. So they don't have to worry about it, right? So they get to invest in real estate, get all the benefits of it without having to take the risk outside of their initial capital investment,
right?
Which is pretty cool. So, I mean, I'm basically crowdfunding my real estate investments through YouTube now.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Which is really neat.
Yeah.
And look, the audience loves it because they get to see their projects in YouTube videos, right? Like I was a part of that. So I'm really bringing them on the journey. And then I would say it's followed by, underwriting spreadsheets. I sell, Excel spreadsheets on how to underwrite commercial real estate deals. That's anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And then YouTube ads, somewhere between $800 and $1,200 a month.
Sure. I love your model. I love the things that you're promoting, and it's just showing people that, yes, you've scaled this thing to astronomical numbers, to what most people would say are astronomical numbers, but I do believe that you're leaving a lot on the table, and you're going to be able to get to like the 100,000 mark. I believe is very obtainable for you every month, and I think that's something that's very exciting. It shows the power of YouTube, and I love that. Now I want to transition just a bit. I want to ask you, is there anything you wish that you would have known sooner? Like some things that you're doing now that 4 years ago you just weren't doing and you're implementing, and you can say, these are things that have really attributed to the success and growth of the channel and my business as a whole.
Oh, dude, so many things. I mean, this is what we covered on our call, right? I mean, you like everything you laid out. I was like, yeah, should have been doing that. Yeah, should have been doing. Yeah, should have been doing that. Right? It was just like, oh man, but it's great to hear that from someone like you after looking at the channel, man. I mean, like A/B testing thumbnails, right? I've had TubeBuddy for years because of you, and I have always had the A/B test for thumbnails, and I've just never implemented it. I should have done that. Talking about converting live streams into shorts, we've tried that in the past with using AI to just cut them down. I have not found a single one that is actually good. You have to have somebody that manually cuts those down. So
you do.
Actually spending the time and investing in that. And what's funny, like you don't pay attention to certain things until you get feedback that something happened, right? So like I actually had somebody join the Commercial Real Estate Mastermind in the past week. And in their application, they found me through YouTube Shorts. And I was like, oh my gosh, like imagine if I had thousands more shorts out there from all of the videos that we're doing.
So I would just want to just bring up a point of attention to this. A lot of times in business and entrepreneurship, you talk about, well, you find 100 people that are willing to give you $1,000, or $500 a month. You do the math, right? It doesn't take a very large sum of people. So you're selling 1, 2 to 3 of these $7,000 packages every week. I mean, you sell 3 a week, that's 21 grand. Well, one short on your YouTube channel just made you $7,000. That the way you look at it is one short just equal to $7,000. So how do you scale this thing? Well, you make, if you had 100 more shorts out there, well, yeah, 100 of them, there maybe 3 or 4 of them are only going to take off, but those 3 or 4 could bring you, in your case, Tyler, could be $50 to $60, $100,000, right? So for you, how much have you left on the table because you just haven't put the time in on the things that can make you money? And once you find your money-making machine like you have, you then can start optimizing for it and say, oh, and knowing the data. And another point out of what you just said, finding where people are finding you is important. That's why I always ask people who hire me for coaching, man, you found me here. Oh, you found me in this video or this episode. And I had a coaching client the other day tell me, I literally discovered you on episode, I don't know, one of your older episodes that someone linked through Twitter. And I was like, I suck at Twitter. Why am I not doing, or Twitter, X. Why am I not using X and other platforms like Instagram to promote the podcast? I'm leaving so much on the table. So understanding where people are finding you is critical. So I saw you write something down there. Was there something you wanted to follow up on?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say too much, right? I left too much on the table. And it's because I've been in the trenches for so long. Yeah. That's why, I mean, look, I'm a coach, right? I help people buy their first commercial property, right? And even I'm like, I've got to go find coaches to help me with all of the specific things that I'm doing. That's why I called you. You get, as a creator, you get so stuck in the trenches that you can't see the battlefield. And having a 4-star general like yourself say, hey, let's take a step back. Here's what the lay of the land is. I mean, I'm just like, yeah, wow, I never saw that before. Absolutely, I should be doing that, you know?
I want to ask you now, as we close out the interview, I feel like you and I could talk about this stuff for hours. It's trying to keep it to 30, 45 minutes. Again, we'll maybe have you on for a part 2 at some point when you reach 100,000 subscribers, which should be fairly soon, I'm sure. What's next for you? What are you looking to do short-term and long-term? I love hearing these kind of aspirational kind of comments about the channel. So what's next for you?
Yeah, so short term, we're going all in on A/B testing thumbnails. I mean, since YouTube has rolled that out within the platform, I mean, I had a discussion with my team yesterday about doing 2 A/B tests for every video, right? So we do 3 very different thumbnails, figure out which one's going to work. Then we'll do 3 variations of the one that worked. And then that's the thumbnail.
I love that.
We're going all in on that just to, hey, let's figure it out. Let's get scientific about this. Long term, though, I mean, if you go to the channel, I am all about video quality, production quality. I just want it to be so nice because, look, are my videos unbelievably expensive to produce individually? Yes, absolutely they are. But I've got videos that have been out there for 4 years that are still bringing me money and ad revenue and students and investors, whatever, doesn't matter. If these videos are still doing half as much of that in 4 years, I'll take it all day, and it's worth investing in today for the quality. So it's all about, all right, who do we hire next? How do we take this to the next level? How do we make this even better?
What is your average cost per video?
Oh gosh, it's over $3,000.
Mm-hmm. But
we do a video a week.
So if you do a video a week, say 12 to 15 grand a month. But I mean, when you're doing $7K per mastermind, transaction, that pays for half the videos that month, right? So understanding that, I want people to listen to this and they hear $3K per video. That's insane. Well, maybe for you, that's $100 per video, and that seems insane to you. But if you put the time and the money in, it normally will work for you for years and years to come. Understanding that, exactly what Tyler just said. Tyler, you have been an amazing guest on the podcast. I cannot wait to release this episode. I know people are going to be messaging me saying, how can I get in touch with Tyler? I will have all of his links in the show notes. I have a link to his YouTube channel. Again, it's Tyler Cauble, Cauble. Really would encourage you to go check out what he's doing, following him over on Instagram. Tyler, we appreciate your time.
Dusty, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing.
You've been listening to the YouTube Creators Podcast. We want to thank you and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as support us on Patreon for great perks, such as having your YouTube channel featured on the show and a link on our website. Until next time, keep uploading those videos.